Hey everyone, so happy snow day. As of right now, it's not snowing, but as promised, this is kind of going to be your activity for today. So if you're watching this right now, you're on track. So great job, and hopefully you'll be able to play in the snow later today. So this EdPuzzle that you're watching right now is going to count for reading response number 4, and it will result in a reading response number 4 grade. So make sure this is completed no later than Wednesday, February 20th, tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. All right, so this is what we were going to do today in class, and we're going to have to adjust again. So that means that your Google Kool-Aid project will likely be due later than it's currently listed right here, but I haven't fully made that decision yet, so don't bank on it. But the things that we're not going to do today include walking through a little bit of Google Drive, which Sean Beard did a little bit for you guys last week, so I feel kind of good about that. We're not going to do Google Centers today because you've already done a few Google things on your own, and we'll talk about those next week, on Thursday. But I really want to be there to support you while you work through some other activities, and actually put together that tour that we started last week. So what I am gonna walk you through today is the creative communication activity instructions. So we'll do that in a few minutes, but before we do, we need to talk about formative and summative assessment, which is what you should have read for class today. So formative assessment is really kind of that ongoing assessment that provides teachers the information that they need to figure out whether or not they need to adjust their teaching and learning activities. So it really does give students some feedback on how they're doing, like whether or not they're getting it, and it really helps the teacher kind of figure out, okay, what are my students ready to do next, and potentially, they really didn't get that today, so we need to go back over that tomorrow. So that's really that formative assessment. And common formative assessment will include kind of most of the day-to-day activity-based things that you do with students. So, it could be an exit ticket at the end of class to really give you some of that feedback on whether or not students got what you were doing in class that day. It could be, some sort of small application-based thing that they did while they were in class, and kind of looking through their work, you can tell whether or not they got it. Whereas the summative assessment, that's going to be, more of those singular events that are at the end of a unit, or, even semester. So summative assessment are going to be, the big projects, or maybe a final exam, stuff like that. The things that really, get at the main things that students were supposed to learn within that unit. So formative is going to be the ongoing stuff, more the day-to-day stuff, whereas summative is going to be those more singular events at the end of like a unit, semester, whatever. But most importantly, you're going to need to use both of these things, right? So to really get that full picture of how well your students are doing and whether or not you need to fix your instruction, you need to be using both formative and summative assessments. And again, as I kind of just mentioned, you're going to be using formative assessments more. You just are. And if you're not, that's probably problematic, right? You shouldn't have too many summative assessments. And if you're not using enough formative assessments, how are you really supposed to know whether or not your students are prepared for that summative assessment? So now I'm going to ask you whether or not a few different types of assessments that I'm going to show you are formative or summative. So you're going to answer those in the EdPuzzle. So this one, a Snapchat exit ticket. So students are supposed to describe what did you learn / do in today's lesson, send a snap. Probably not a real snap, obviously. This is probably something that someone printed. But is this formative or summative? All right, midterm exams, formative or summative? So this is a 1-minute review. So students are supposed to describe the most useful thing that they learned, as well as something that they felt least confident about that day. Formative or summative? All right, so I apologize for the pixelization of this picture, but to give her final project, right? So students have a choice board of things that they could do. They could write an alternative ending. They could create a soundtrack. They could write an essay, rewrite the book in comic strip format, a lot of different options. Formative or summative? All right, So out of some of the things that we've done in class already, which ones are formative? So you're going to check all that apply. So we have the Affinity Spaces project, the reading responses, Google Kool-Aid project, experimenting with Google Tools activity, and UDL activity. Which ones are formative? All right, so of those same, different activities and projects that we've done in class, which ones are summative? Okay, so now that we've gotten formative and summative assessment a little bit out of the way, and this is really going to come back in your Google Kool-Aid project, and it's really important for you to be able to distinguish these as you go on as a teacher, because those are going to be keywords that you will continue to hear year after year. So, really important stuff. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're going to talk about the creative communication activity. So this is going to be due Tuesday, February 26th in class. So it's going to need to be done before class because you're going to present on this in class. And I'm going to walk you through everything that I talk about right now in just a second, but I'm going to read it to you first. So first, you're going to choose a non-Google tool that you want to learn more about. I have a table of options that you can choose from. If you have a different tool in mind that's not on there, just get in touch with me because I'll probably let you do it, but I just need to know what it is first. And so once you pick your tool, you're going to highlight it in yellow background color. That's just to basically tell everyone else in class that someone else has claimed that, and they can't do that. So then you'll, claim an evaluation table that you'll end up filling out after you've chosen your tool. So I'll show you that in a second. So once you've chosen your tool, you're going to spend a little bit of time searching for how teachers are using that tool in classrooms. You can Google it, you can use Pinterest, you can use Twitter, YouTube, lots of places. You'll find some examples. And then once you have an understanding of kind of the tool and how it works, and you might need to play around with it. In fact, I recommend that you play around with it because how are you really going to know how it works and how it functions if you're just watching a video on it? You need to experience it. So once you've done that, you'll complete a little evaluation on it. And in class next Tuesday, you're going to briefly walk us through the highlights of your tool, in your opinion. So again, if a tool is highlighted in yellow on the list, it's taken by someone else. So let's take a look at this activity. And this is going to be in Google Classroom in the Google Kool-Aid section. I will remind you of that. But let's say, okay, I got here and I say, oh man, I really want to do EdPuzzle. And no one do EdPuzzle because we're using it in class. Then I would highlight it in yellow. And so no one else is doing it. And then I would come down, to this page. No one's at this first table. So I would type in my name and EdPuzzle. You might even hyperlink to it, right? So I think it's edpuzzle.com, but I would just paste in, there. Did I just find it? There it goes. All right. EdPuzzle. And so now that's my table. And so once I've played with the tool, I'm going to, describe the main purpose of it, a little bit of information about it, if I can find it. So is there a cost to it? Is there, some sort of login that I need? And then I would go through, each of these things. So that's essentially what you're going to do. And I'm actually going to highlight some of these yellow in here that we've already used in class, so you evaluate something new. So I'll do that before I send out the EdPuzzle. But basically that's what you're going to do for your creative communication activity. So pretty low stakes, but will be really informative for everyone else as they try to figure out what tools they want to use with their Google Kool-Aid project. Okay, so we've already done the instructions. Great. This is definitely longer than I was hoping for it to be, so my apologies for that, but you guys know that I kind of ramble. So to do for Thursday, work on that activity. It's going to be classwork page, Google Kool-Aid section. Read the chapter 8, using technology resources in different environments. Ignore the assignment section. So that's from the book that you read the assessing learning chapter from. And then kind of start working on your Google Kool-Aid project. I know I've been saying that, but really try to get in there and do that. And remember that, you're going to be doing those presentations in class next Tuesday. I'll remind you of that on Thursday. So hopefully you'll get this done today before, this EdPuzzle done today before the snow comes so you can play. I know my dog is frustrated with me for working right now and not playing with her. So enjoy the day. Try to get a little work done, and I'll see you guys Thursday.